I was just on. I'm like, am I supposed to be on the computer? ILC? Yeah. Okay, I'm on my way. They were just my stuff. And faculty members, and our community stakeholders. Welcome to our first district-wide parent meeting of the new school year. I am delighted to be your host this evening and your new parent champion, LaRonda Thomas. I have years of experience in the advocacy role within Greater Cincinnati. I am also a wife, mother of four children that are all proud products of CPS. I am proud to also continue my journey in the advocacy role within CPS, doing some very purposeful work for you, your children, and our family. Today, I would like to invite you to join in on various conversation topics surrounding HOSIP, all the feedback that you have been sending out to those surveys, or we're going to discuss some of those this evening. So I want you to remember throughout this evening, there is power in your voice, and I want you to activate it now. Some of the discussions that we will share tonight will be in regards to health and safety, and we will definitely highlight some information in regards to National Bullying Awareness Month. So get ready for some great, impactful dialogue this evening. I am so excited to invite our special guest. When I think of this leader and I watch her in action, she reminds me of an anchor in a race. She's responsible for making the ground up and preserving the lead in this pursuit of what we call transformative education for all. So without further ado, please welcome Interim Superintendent Tiane Amont.
Thank you. Hi, LaRonda.
Good evening.
So glad to be here. Good evening, Facebook Live.
I want to share with you some information and a couple of questions that have come up. So can you share with us what's going on in CPS? What does the future look like?
The future is bright at CPS, and I'm so excited to share. We started the school year with the clear purpose of bringing back joy to the classroom and the workplace. And I believe in order to bring back joy, we need to heal first and then have a clear purpose. And we're going to start that clear purpose with our strategy refresh. Our board was vital in saying this is our third year in our strategy. And let's be clear, we have to remove barriers through anti-racism and equity. We also are looking at our vision and mission. Our vision states that Cincinnati Public Schools will be a community that ensures equitable access to world-class education, unleashing the potential of every student. We take that seriously. We know the potential of our students, and we want to remove all barriers to ensure when they leave CPS and cross that stage that the sky is the limit and that they can pursue anything that they choose to pursue, and we take that seriously. And through our acceleration of learning, it is important that we focus on two areas. One is the academics, and we are doing everything that we can do to keep schools open. And one of the things that was very successful this year is that our board passed a mandatory vaccination policy. So staff have the opportunity to either be vaccinated or weekly testing. And I'm proud to say 99% of our staff are either vaccinated or will take place in the weekly testing. That speaks volumes of the commitment our staff had to keeping kids open. Also with the safety, there was a change in the quarantine policy, which allows asymptomatic students to quarantine in the classroom. And then we also kept our protocol in place. So we have the 3 feet social distancing, the universal masking that are all in place. But before we get to the academics, and I know you have a guest coming on after me that will talk about safety in school and a bully-free environment, one of the things that we decided to do was hire more social workers. So we have 38 new social workers to really support the well-being of our students. And then we wanted to have a focus on literacy. So we hired 45 reading specialists. So with that information, we know that we have to use data to inform our practice. So our students will be taking temperature checks, academic temperature checks throughout the year. Teachers will have that data, make sure that they can adjust and customize education along with building those relationships. So what I would like to leave parents with are these questions. they were so vital during the pandemic. They were actually the first teachers the last 17, 18 months. And they were critical to the success of the learning. And I don't want them to go anywhere. Stay with us. Ask questions. Some of the questions you can ask is, how are the temperature checks going? How is my child doing in English language arts, math, science, and social studies? And how can I support my child at home? Just those three simple questions will open up the dialogue between the teacher and families at home. And we have to continue to do this work together. And then I would like to give some dates, if that's okay.
Perfect.
Okay.
Perfect.
So we have just wrapped up the end of the quarter. So October 22nd, we will be sending home the elementary report cards. And then October 27th, the high school report cards will be mailed. And believe it or not, October 21st, we will have college night.
Oh my gosh.
This has gone very quickly. So it's 5 to 7 here at our Ed Center. And I want to remind parents that there is no school on November 2nd for Election Day. So lastly, just thank you for having me here.
Yes.
Thank you to our community, our parents, our staff. It's just been a phenomenal start of the school year.
Yeah.
We look forward and going into second quarter with the same zest and zeal and wrapping our arms around our students to ensure that they have a great, continue to have a great start of the school year.
Exactly. And I will definitely say, in regards to being a parent and dealing with the pandemic, I know the struggle of parenting and teaching at home. Last year,
Yes.
I have one student that excels, virtual learning.
Yes.
The other one needed to sit in front, needed to be in the class
Yes.
with the teachers. So I am thrilled to hear that we are at 99.9%.
Yes.
Yes,
Right
of
there.
that is amazing. And that does speak volume to the commitment for our children.
Yes.
And the commitment to the parents
Yes.
as well. I did want to ask a couple of questions. So I know there's supposed to be some tea
Yes.
that's going to be spilled with the interim superintendent. So what can we expect?
Yes, I've already had 3 teas with Tiane.
Okay.
So some of them are at local Black coffee shops.
Okay.
So the first one was in downtown at Black Coffee. So we invited out schools in that area. So their LSDMCs and their so the local school decision-making committee and partners and staff and principals came out from Rothenberg, SDPA, Hayes Porter, CDA, Virtual. So all those schools were represented, and it was just an opportunity to listen.
Wonderful.
Listen to what the community is saying, what they wanted and needed, and then giving them an opportunity to learn a little more about Tiane. The last one I just did was at Riverview.
Okay.
So it was great to be on the east side there, and that one was at the school.
Okay.
So their LSDNC and partners and lots came out to that one. And then we also did one at a Montessori school.
Okay.
So that was absolutely wonderful. So I would say definitely continue to look at the website.
Okay.
I'm going to more local Black coffee shops. I believe the next one is in Walnut Hills, Cafe Felice. I believe that's how you pronounce it. And then I'll be out at other schools.
Okay. So parents should look out on the website for this connection.
Yes.
So what if they are not in like an LSD or a PTA group and they just want to connect with you? So going out to the website is the best way to connect.
Yes, but
for the
there's
team.
always other ways to connect. So this is a great example, right? To connect. We are Facebook Live district-wide for our family. So there's not one a way to connect to me, your school, but the T is just one way to do that.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, I think we're going to take some questions. I don't know if we have any at the moment. Okay, so we don't have any questions at the moment for our interim superintendent. So I will ask one last question.
Okay.
What does the future look like for CPS parents? What does that look like for us?
I think the shift will be in engagement. What I've learned in the last 90 days, I provided a 30, 60, 90 days plan when I first got hired. So part of that plan was the T and going out and engaging with the community. And what I heard over and over again was we need increased communication and engagement. So instead of telling us the decisions, can we be a part of it early on? So we are going to put things in place so we can have that engagement so people can have a voice. I heard you say that earlier, having a voice and to be inclusive. Our parent voice, our student population is so diverse. And we need to have a variety of platforms that our families can access. So I believe that is the future, that we are not exactly what to do, but we are co-creating a district that suits the needs of every child, and we cannot do that without our parents.
Exactly. I want to commend you because I thought about, as I was preparing just to talk with you today, at the beginning of the school year, there was a newsletter that came out. And that newsletter for me as a parent was very informative. And first of all, it introduced me to who you were and what your initiatives and your mission was, but it also provided me resources that I could have for my children, and then for not just my children, but for people that I work with, and for when I'm on the football team with my parents. Because when you become active with your children, other parents see that, and then they have questions. So it was great to have that resource. So I want to thank you, first of all, for just implementing that way of communication, because that was definitely something very tangible that I still hold on to now.
And then I would add to that. So we send out emails. We did that mailer for the newsletter. And I'm not sure if Facebook Live is aware of the Super 60. So in 60 seconds or less, you're going to get all the information you need monthly. So that's on YouTube. That's on our Facebook account, Twitter. So it's timely. So it's just another way to communicate with our families.
Thank you, Superintendent. I appreciate. Oh, we have a question. Wonderful.
Yes. So, and that's a building base, so it looks different at every building. But all of our buildings have resource coordinators, and part of their job is providing resources like tutoring. Sometimes the tutoring may be after school by a classroom teacher. We have partnerships with local businesses that come in and tutor students. So I highly recommend reaching out to your child's resource coordinator, and those services are at our school.
Wonderful. Do we have any other questions? Present time.
And that's a great question, Yellow Bus Services. So as most people know, there's a national shortage of bus drivers. We have really been working hand in hand with our Yellow Bus Services, and some of the things that they have put in place, it's really active recruitment of bus drivers, paying more to recruit more bus drivers, but it is a big task, but we are committed to trying to support our vendors in getting the bus drivers trained, and getting more so that they can provide a timely and efficient service.
Wonderful. Thank you. All right. Well, interim superintendent, anyone, thank you so much for joining us this evening for Parent Voice.
Yes, it was an absolute pleasure. Have a good night, Facebook Live. It's been great.
Now we're going to welcome to the stage Miss Casey Fisher. She is the manager of our CLC department.
Hi, Miss Miranda.
Hello there, Miss Fisher. So my first question for you, Ms. Fisher, can you define what a CLC is?
Yes. So a CLC or Community Learning Center is just what it sounds like.
Mm-hmm.
It is our commitment to make sure that our buildings are open to the community, not just the students and families that walk through those doors each and every day, but the actual community that our buildings sit in.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. And can you tell us, I know, well, tell us about your team.
As I have the most amazing team, and I know it's not a word, so I'm going to say amazingness team. I'm so excited to be able to lead with them and have impact in the CPS school district. So we have my executive assistant, Robin Keys. We have our student engagement specialist, Shelly Conrad. Yourself, who joined our team most recently as our parent champion. And then our district more advisor, William Johnson, our Title I Family Engagement Coordinator, Tracy Stillwell, and our project specialist, Anna Berlin. So we all work together to make sure that we are tackling the areas of student engagement, family engagement, parent engagement, and making sure that we do it in an intentional way. So I really appreciate this team. I'm sure you'll see them throughout the school year because they are very active with our students.
Wonderful. And Ms. Fisher, can you tell us how can parents get involved?
So there's a lot of ways that parents can get involved. But before I go that, I want to go back to the community learning centers and what that really means and what it looks like, because this will help drive that involvement. So we're, like I said, we're obligated. We are obligated to our students, families, and communities to connect students and families to resources that support success, to increase ease of access through our on-site resources like our school-based health centers. We also have mental health and behavioral health supports there on-site. And what does that mean? That's important because it means I have a way to connect my student to support without pulling them out of school, right? And so my student can go down the hall, literally go down the hall, and in some buildings get their teeth checked because there's a dentist on site. Mm-hmm. Or, you know, if I've got a tummy ache and I'm not sure, you know, what's going on, I go down to the school-based health center. And so we also, through the community learning centers, we connect students and families to meaningful enrichment opportunities, which expands the experience beyond the classroom. And if it's one thing that I think CPS does well, is connecting learning outside of the classroom. So I'm really excited about our partners that collaborate with us in that space to provide after-school programming or to provide field trips or other services that come into the building, as well as taking our students outside of the building and making sure that we're connected back to the community. Not that they're just coming in, but they were connecting out. So what does that mean as far as engagement?
Right.
Our students can be engaged through peer leadership collaboratives and after-school clubs and programs. Some of those collaboratives include Girls to Women, which is our girls leadership program. And then like that, we have more who are the young men leadership program. There's also college collaboratives, career. And as you can see, we have someone attached to each of those collaboratives to support them. And then wellness, which is our newest collaborative, is I think in 10 schools right now. And then Speak Up, Speak Out, which is another one that we have that's newer, that allows students to activate their voices in a different way. And I really get excited about that. But as far as our parents, as you mentioned, and as Amat mentioned, there's parent organizations. There's this district-wide parent meeting. We're implementing parent seminars this school year. POSUP, those pulse checks go out. We want to hear from you. We want to hear how you want to be engaged. So that's important. And there's also LSDMC and then other volunteer opportunities. I think also coming up, we have, as Ms. Amat shared, so just that visual there, the CPS College Night. So that's another way that you can get involved with your student, right? They don't have to come alone. Everybody is welcome. So come and support your student. And there's ways to support and engage that we have not touched on. But again, it's open. I love that about CPS. We have an opportunity to create, and not just the staff and employees here, but our parents and our students. So if there's a way that our parents would like to be engaged, they haven't seen yet, let us know. That is one thing that my department, my team is tasked with, is making sure that we hear from the students, the families, the communities about what engagement looks like, and we're going to do it together.
Wonderful, wonderful. I want to say that I had an amazing time this past week for Girls to Women on Friday.
Oh my
Can you
goodness.
share a little bit about that event with our parents?
So exciting. And so this was our second year in participating with the International Day of the Girl. And it's a celebration of womanhood. It touched on a variety of topics this year. I think they touched on domestic violence. But, you know, CPS always has to enhance everything that we do. And then my team, as you know, I like to say, we got to bring the glitter.
Right.
So we had in that session, Shelly Conrad helped to coordinate. We had salsa dance.
Yes.
We got to learn salsa. I think there was some type of yoga or mindfulness activity that went on. They made globes.
Yeah.
They heard from powerful speakers and they were poured into. And like I said, this was the second time that we have participated in that. And I look forward to doing events like that moving forward. I know that the Men of More, they have their Manpower Conference coming up next week. And so they'll have their opportunity to be poured into as well.
Wonderful. I love to hear that we have opportunities for our children to activate their voice as well in this space. I want to take a moment to see if we have any questions for Ms. Fisher. Okay. So since we don't have any questions for Ms. Fisher, we're going to, I want to ask another question to Ms. Fisher. What is your vision for this upcoming school year?
We are definitely focused as a team on maximizing impact. And that looks so many different ways depending on the area that we're tackling. Our parent engagement, for instance. How do we maximize impact there? How do we reach more and more parents in the way that they want to be reached? How do we include more of the student voice in the enrichment opportunities that are happening around the school district? How do we make the most use of our resource coordinators, like Mrs. Amat mentioned? We have a resource coordinator in just about all of our school buildings, and for those that aren't currently supported, it's in the works. And so I'm really excited about that. But we want to maximize impact. We want to increasingly engage our partners, and whether that's a community partner, whether that's a parent as a partner, because they're partners too. We cannot do this work without our parents, without our families, without our partners. So we want to see an increase in engagement. We want to see an increase in satisfaction with the type of opportunities that are being presented to our students. And like I said, I'm going to keep saying, we want to add the glitter. If it was great, how do we make it amazing? If it was amazing, how do we make it so memorable that you're dreaming about it, right? We want to make sure that when our students leave, when our families move on from the district for their post-secondary pathways, that they look back at CPS and say, wow, that was amazing. And I know that that was not a one-time, but that is an opportunity that I'm not going to find elsewhere, anything like CPS in the way they do it. I just really am focused on that. What does it look like to maximize impact with all of our stakeholders?
So let me ask you this, because Ms. Fisher, you're not just you just don't work for CPS. You're a parent.
I am.
So tell me a little bit your expectations, for your children. And I know that we have a program that is called More. And I know that it is so successful. It is in its, I believe it's 10th year. 10th year.
Celebrating their
Amazing.
10th year.
So can you share a little bit about More for us?
Yes, and so I wish I had William Johnson to lean on so I could cheat. But yes, this was, I think it was started at maybe one or a few schools, and it has expanded. I think he has currently, because it was one of his goals this year, to add 3 or 5 schools, and he's exceeded that. But it's for our elementary school students, I believe maybe 5th grade, up to our 12th grade students. But it stands for Men, Organized, Respectful, and Educated. And they pour into those young men. They have all types of speakers and experiences. And last year, I was so excited because they focused on a history project. And they learned about unspoken men in history, or, just those figures, hidden figures, they don't know enough about, our brown skin and our African-American heroes. So they definitely pour into our young men continuously. And it's not just about what they can do during their time with CPS. They reach beyond graduation, and they continue to check on those students. They even have as part of that program, those students can earn scholarships to Miami University. There's a partnership there. And so it's definitely a mentorship And it's definitely something that pours in and encourages and builds up our young men.
Wonderful, wonderful. I am definitely glad to hear that because I do have a son that is looking to be a part of more this school year.
Oh, awesome.
And
Wonderful.
he is a senior. So, just to set some expectations. And one thing I think is important for parents to know that there are so many resources in the community learning
There
centers
are.
that we just have to reach out and know who to reach out to.
Yes.
So that is amazing.
Yes, and those resource coordinators are very essential to this work. And as I mentioned before, even in the buildings that aren't currently supported by a resource coordinator, there is a contact. And if you can't find that contact, reach out to our office, and we will get you connected to that resource that you're looking for.
And Ms. Fisher, can you provide the contact number, the main number?
Sure. I think that might be my phone number, which is 363-0154. 363-0154. And now that I've shared that out to the world, sure, I'll have lots and lots of red lights and messages, but please feel free to call us. Please feel free to email me. That's fisherc@cps-k12.org. That's fisherc@cps-k12.org. And let us know what the need is, what school you're trying to get connected to, and we'll definitely make sure that we get you connected.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you, Ms. Fisher. I appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, on Parent Voices. Wonderful. So now we're going to invite the man of the hour. He's going to talk all things COVID, Mr. Safety Steve. Welcome, sir, to Parent Voices this evening.
Good evening. Well, Casey, she's a really good public speaker, so it's going to be hard to follow up on. All right, so good evening, everyone. My name is Stephen Kanapik, but I go by Safety Steve throughout the public schools. I'm the head of the Environmental Health and Safety Office here at CPS. I want to talk about my roles in regards to COVID and outside of COVID. So first, with everything COVID related, I supervise the COVID hotline, and that's for staff, parents, the health department, anyone to contact in, just kind of assistance questions or any needs like that. And outside of the hotline, I want to touch on the kind of frequently asked questions that we get at EHS.
Yes.
So I want to start with our disinfecting levels. Everyone wants to know, when I come into a CPS building, how is it being cleaned? How do I know my child's safe in there? Just what are you doing exactly? So outside of a positive case, so just everyday normal disinfecting levels, our custodians are going through and disinfecting all high contact areas. That's like corners of desks, light switches, doorknobs, water fountains, anywhere where there's a lot of high contact, they're disinfecting that on a daily basis, sometimes twice daily. And then when we do have a COVID positive case in one of our schools, we go in with it's called a 360 machine. But it's basically a power washer that mists disinfectant, covers the entire room. Any germs spread anywhere with a positive case, it's going to get disinfected that same day. If that's after the school day or the next morning before anyone arrives. Just have to sit for an hour afterward before it's safe to go back in. Moving up disinfecting, Superintendent Amat was talking about our new close contact guidance. That's kind of been a big help this year because the CDC and Ohio Department of Health moved it from 6 feet to 3 feet where you're at close contact. So we're able to do the in-school quarantining. And what that means is if you are identified as a close contact in between the 3 and 6 feet, you're not sent home like you would have been last year. You're going to be staying in class and you're going to be monitored daily by the nurse, usually before the school day begins and after the school day ends, just making sure that no symptoms have developed and keeping everyone safe that way. But we're still pushing 6 feet as much as possible. Just trying to keep everyone safe from our students to our staff. We try to do 6 feet anytime we can, but otherwise we do the 3. And then face masks, as I'm still rocking mine to represent. It's been a crazy topic this year. Although we encourage parents to send their students to school wearing a face mask, we're still providing it at every single location. We're doing adult sizes and youth that cover our pre-K all the way to like second or third grade. And it is crazy how many masks we're going through this year, but it's all in an effort to keep everybody safe. So yeah, just a wild situation. And I also want to give a shout out to all of our COVID partners, tracking and our vaccine. Throughout the entire pandemic, the last 2 years, we worked a lot with TriHealth and Children's Hospital, but by far our largest partner has been the Ohio Department of Health. This year, we stepped it up a lot. We have a lot of Department of Health nurses in our buildings that are helping with the close contact tracing, positive student log, and then we meet every day at 4 o'clock, and then Wednesdays and Fridays at 7:30 in the morning, just to kind of compare all of our data and make sure that nothing's falling through the cracks here. And the thing we're really proud of with all that information is our level of transparency. That's why I put our website at the bottom of this presentation that anyone can go to. And when you go to this website, you're able to find our our COVID positive numbers, our vaccine numbers, and also all of our protocols, the same that any employee would be able to find. It's just that level of transparency so everyone can find our information. And if we jump over to the next slide, I have my actual department website in there. And this is where we get back away from COVID to the environmental health and safety. On this department page, you'll find 5 different safety forklift safety, pathogen, mold, and asbestos. We have all that the same thing, just the transparency. What we're going to be doing when any of those situations arise. Then outside of that, other parts of the EHS office compensation. That's for employee accidents, student accidents, and also accidents. Water, air sampling, kind of just anything that goes along with environmental safety and along with a lot of it. And I want to throw out some contact information for our COVID hotline, as I talked about at the beginning. Any parent can contact that line for any question, whether it's why their child was listed as a close contact or they just want to know what we're doing in general. And if there's someone like me that prefers to text or email, we also have our EHS help desk email that I monitor, and so does everyone else on the hotline. So if you go either way of contacting, you're either going to get someone right away or you're going to get answered within an hour.
Okay.
We kind of pride ourselves on our level of contact. Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, I wanted to ask you a question because I go back to the next slide, the previous slide. So you directed parents to go to the district's website. So what do they click on? So when they're looking at to see what the numbers are, what tab do they click on to find that information out?
All right, so when you first go to this web page, there's going to be a tab at the top that says vaccine or COVID information.
Okay.
And on that, it breaks it down into 4 different tabs. I think it's employee COVID information and a couple other ones. But there's one that says vaccination numbers, and that's where COVID positive numbers, and that's where we break it down by students and employees. There's also another website that you can go to that tracks the school by the date range. Like, it's all just such a level of transparency. It's really, really neat just to look at.
So there's a question that I have, and of course this is from the parent view. Now I have a child. I have 2 children that are sitting now that have seasonal allergies. What is your advice and instructions in regards to parents? What can we do to be proactive?
Definitely.
In regards to that? I
understand this one closely because I got allergy shots from 8th grade to my senior year of high school. Fairly familiar with my health. It's a question that's been coming across our office a lot the last few weeks, just as the seasons are changing and everything. Right now, our policy is any child that has any COVID-related symptoms is going to be asked to go get a negative test before they return to the building. Anyone with allergies knows that's coughing, runny nose, headaches, any of those same symptoms. What we're recommending for any parents that have children with those symptoms or just in the same situation, you get a doctor's note from your pediatrician or your allergist that says, hey, this student or this child suffers from these seasonal allergies, these specific symptoms, and turn that note into the school's main office and with the nurse. That will keep them from getting sent home. As long as the nurse is able to tell, like, hey, this is definitely just the allergy symptoms, this is ongoing, and if it's nothing that progresses past that, then the student will be allowed to stay without requiring the negative test. Just because that is a common occurrence, and especially going into fall here, that's going to rise a lot more.
Right. So have you seen cases rise within like our football team, like in athletics?
You know what? I'm sorry to cut you off there.
It's okay. It's
actually been really, really cool. So I got excited. Our cases have been not drastically going down, but they have been going down. every single week for the last 3 or 4 weeks. That's something really cool to see, but also at the same time, with the holiday season come up, we have to do our part to make sure that it stays that way. And that's following the CDC guidance that was put out over the weekend. If you have a lot of unvaccinated family members, as bad as it is, just try not to get together. And if you do, try to social distance as much as you can, because cases are going to rise again over the holiday season.
Exactly. So we have some questions. Thank you, Stevie. Yeah.
Yes, I'm not exactly sure which schools aren't testing, but as far as I know, almost every school is out offering in-school nasal swabs for students that are listed as close contacts or symptoms before they're sent home, just so they can get that back as quickly as possible. Because any test that's taken within a building, it's collected that day, analyzed, hopefully that same day, same night, the results within 2 days.
Is there a contact number, or is there anyone in your team that parents can reach out to if they have specific questions in regards to COVID, other than contacting or going to the the nurse's office?
Yeah. With the COVID hotline, it's 363-0527, and that's to call to talk to someone in person. But if you'd rather just email, I can say emails are going to get answered very, very quickly. So don't think like, I'm going to email, it's never going to get answered. Get answered quickly. Those can go into the EHS help desk at cpsboe.k12.oh.us. And something else I want to touch on, I said how the health department's been one of our partners for vaccinations. If any parent out there has a child that's 12 years or older, we're having a vaccination event at Woodward High School next weekend on the 23rd. That's going to be from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. If you come out, you're able to register on site. You'll see my smiling face as soon as you walk in the door. But if you'd like to register beforehand, you can go to armorvax.com to register and then finding the Woodward site. Or you can call this number and they will assist you. This goes to the health department COVID hotline. So not the CPS one. This goes to the health department to register for vaccines. Or for the vaccine. 513-357-7462. And again, that's for a vaccination event at Woodward next Saturday, the 23rd.
Oh, thank you for sharing that information. And we have one more question.
It's going to be 12 and older for any students that want to come out. And then we're also offering the booster shot. That's for any CPS employee that got their shot 6 months ago, 65 or over, or has underlying health issues where qualified to get the booster shot. This information is going to be going out to all CPS staff are listening to this. Pfizer and Moderna are offered at our vaccine event. I think we're pushing Pfizer.
Wonderful. Yes, one more question.
It is open to the community.
Wonderful.
City parents want to come out and get the shot as well. Keep everybody safe out here.
That's right. Thank you, Steve. Before you leave, let me ask you this question. Is there one thing that you would want to leave parents with in regards to activating their voice? What else can parents do to get ahead of what's going on with COVID and to be proactive for their children?
Really just embracing our protocols. That's even if you don't fully agree with what we're doing, you encourage your students to wear a face mask if they come home and they're complaining about having to wear a mask all day because it bothers them. There are so many different studies out there that all these different protocols together do keep people. Even if you're not vaccinated, you're not of age yet, socially distancing, wearing a mask, doing the proper hand hygiene, all those things together can help you stay safe and stay inside the classroom.
Wonderful. And we have another question.
All right, so the vaccination event is going to be at Woodward High School, and that's next weekend, Saturday the 23rd, from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. And if you would like to you can just sign up with your student or yourself and register at the event. But if you'd like to register beforehand, you can call the health department hotline at 513-357-7462.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much,
Hey, thank you very much.
for joining Parent Voices this evening.
Had a great time.
Thank you. Thank you. So now we're going to invite Ms. Burrows in regards to National Bullying Awareness Month. Good evening. How are you?
Good. Thank you for having me.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, the reason why we have you on here, I know that as a parent, I can reflect back when I was a young student and I was being bullied, and I know what that felt like. But then also as a parent, having 4 children, each of them have had their own experiences with bullying. So, and as a parent, I had to embrace, understand, recognize the signals to try to help. So the first question, Ms. Burrows, what I'll ask you is, what is bullying? What does it look like?
Well, first, I'd like to say I'm sorry that you went through that. I'm sorry your kids went through that. This was
Exactly.
I really feel very strongly about that, and I feel like we have a lot of good things in place to stop it, as well as put supports in place. So when we think about bullying behavior, CPS uses the OVAIS Bullying Prevention Program definition. And bullying behavior is when someone repeatedly and on purpose says or does something mean or hurtful to another person, and that other person has a hard time defending himself or herself. So it's really those 4 components of bullying behavior. And it's important that we talk about bullying behavior because behaviors can change. If we talk about just a bully, that's just who that person is. But we all know everybody has the capacity to change with supports in place, with interventions. And so it's important to use that bullying behavior as the behavior. So it's the repetitive nature. It's that it's intentional or deliberate. It's hurtful, so that can be physical or emotional. And it involves a power imbalance. So those are the 4 components of bullying behaviors. If all of these aren't there, then it's likely a peer conflict. Okay. And that repetitive nature, it doesn't always have to be the same event. It doesn't always have to be a hit or something cyberbullying, but it's that intentionally harmful activity that's repeated over time.
So you said something that sparked me, cyberbullying. So you can have the physical, bullying, and you have cyberbullying, which is on social media. What can parents do to be proactive in either instance? Whether it's, making sure we're checking our children's cell phones, having a certain time to shut it off and, going into their apps and things of that nature. And then also having engaging dialogue with them in regards to what's going on with them and knowing the signs when their personality shifts. So can you share a little bit about that?
Sure, I'd love to. I think really those mentioned a lot of the great things us as we can do. The most important is having that conversation and talking to your kids about what bullying is, what those bullying behaviors are, so we can help them recognize what's going on. We can also help support when something negative is going on to block people, turn that phone off, turn that device off, help them put those limits in place. And it's hard for us adults to do that. So if we model that behavior for our kids, that's a great way to show them, this person's not being so nice to me, whether it's a bullying behavior or not, I'm going to put the phone down and I'm not going to respond, and taking those couple extra minutes before you respond. So I think it's really important we model that behavior with the cyberbullying, with the negative behavior that can be seen. The internet can be a place where our kids find support. It can be a place they go to find other kids with similar interests. So cutting it off isn't the answer. It's understanding how to work for it, how to put those limits in place, and for our kids as well as for ourselves.
Exactly. I want to ask you this question for parents out there that are struggling with their child personality has changed. We went from COVID, we went pre-COVID, where everything was all hunky-dory, kids were wonderful, bees were buzzing and, things of that nature, birds chirping. But then we went to COVID and our children were isolated. And then parents were also I won't say that we were isolated, but we were forced to um, find the best way to teach our children. Um, and I'll use myself as an example. I have two different children, two different mindsets, two different personalities. One thrives in the midst of public, the other one does not. Um, and it was difficult to pull them out of those silos as well. One continually, has their days where they're still trying to find themselves. And I see that a lot of it from COVID kind of made them recluse, if I'm saying that correctly. What do you suggest in regards to conversations to have with your children in regards to um, being and feeling not just alone, but also the peer pressure of, well, I'm different, because that happens. That happens. So, what do you suggest for our parents that are looking for those resources and those not just resources, but being able to eye our child to say there's something wrong. How do I figure this out? How do I pinpoint this?
I think those changes in behavior are so important, and it can go up and down. We have our students and our children who before might have been that outgoing personality, and now are more internalizing things and having a hard time breaking out the shell. But it also goes the other way. So we want to look for the changes of behavior. What is different? How is how are they acting different? And keep those channels of communication open. Keep asking those open-ended questions. Do it at a time when it's not that high pressure situation. You sit down with your kid and say, I want to have a conversation with you. You're not going to get anywhere. But, going and driving in the car, sitting on the bus, those times when it's a low pressure time is a great way to have those open-ended conversations with your child. And things you notice, you want to start with those questions such as the statements. I noticed that you've been staying in your room a little bit more. I noticed that you're not talking to me as much. I notice your friends haven't been calling. It's those things you're noticing about your child's behavior, so you're not accusatory, such as you don't have any friends anymore. It's I notice you're not talking about your friends anymore. So those are the type of questions you ask that will help your child open up. And it's not easy, and some days they're going to talk, and some days they're not going to talk.
Right.
But also using those resources at the school, as Ms. Fisher explained to us, we've got great community learning centers in our buildings. We have great supports. We have teachers. We have social workers. We have so many adults in our building that also can be a great support for children. I always say it's for children, but maybe for adults too. It's great to have three people in your life: somebody at home, somebody in the community, and somebody at school they can talk to. And if it's not you, that's okay. It's just as long as it's somebody, an adult that your child trusts, and that's really that important. If they're not ready to talk to you, I've got two girls, and they're the teenagers, so I might not be the person, but if it's not me, I need it to be somebody.
Exactly.
And so it's important to have that. Maybe it's an aunt, maybe it's a grandma, maybe it's a friend of the family. Make sure that they're talking to somebody.
Exactly. So what do we do? What do parents do when they're faced with the harsh reality that their child is being bullied and they don't want to go to school?
And that's a hard one. So the first step really is noticing. I'm so glad you brought up the changes in behavior. You also want to look for, things missing, bruises, maybe that weren't there when you sent them to school. If they're taking a different way home, if they're saying they don't want to ride the bus anymore, look for those changes, sort of things that don't make sense. Those are a little bit more of the signs to look for. And we do have more of those signs to look for if you're concerned about your child on the CPS website. The first thing you want to do if they say they're getting bullied, you want to first talk to the school. So talk to your child's teacher about it. Express, hey, my mentioned this. Seeing this, do you see what's going on? You want to start there because there's that first line of communication. You want to encourage your child to keep talking. We want them to tell the school, but we also want them to keep telling you. We want to keep those lines of communication open. If it's still happening, it happens again, talk to the school's principal. So make an appointment, figure out the best way. Every principal has a different way of working with parents. Some have an open door policy. Some say, these are my times. This is when I'm available. And it just works differently in different schools. So figure out what that policy is. If you've gone to the principal, it's still happening, then we have the CPS button on our website. So this is a way for anybody to report bullying. It's a bullying allegation. So we want people to know about this. So thank you for bringing that up. So I always used to say it's a little blue circle in the corner, and then they changed the color on me, and it's now, it looks brown there, but I think it's red on the website. So this is for students. This is for community members. This is for anyone who has a concern about bullying within CPS, to report it using our bully button on the website. So what happens when this, you push the bully button, you can report in 4 different languages: English, Spanish, French, and Arabic. And you can also, you can put in those different languages. We get it translated right away if it is in another language, and we then communicate with the parent in that language so that they can understand what's going on with their child. So when this gets, button is pushed, it copy goes to myself as well as to, and then my role as well as another social worker is to support the school in putting interventions in place. You might not always hear directly from us when the bully button is used, but know that the report is out there and we're supporting schools to make sure interventions are put in place. There also is another way that you can report bullying. So you can call 363-0551, and that is the bully. It's also my direct phone number to report bullying. And what we'll do when we talk to you is say, you have different options. Do you know about the bully button, or do you want to talk to me and I will report this for you? So we still use the bully button, but we want people to feel comfortable with their means of communicating their allegation. You can also come down to the customer care center and speak to us directly. So myself and Jan Phipps is another school social worker that works with the bullying prevention program to report this. It's just so important that we have multiple avenues of reporting bullying. So everyone has an opportunity. They feel comfortable. They know we want this information. Spread the word. We want people to know about the bully button. We want people to know how to report bullying allegations.
What does intervention look like?
So there's different interventions. It's really important that we understand those 4 components of bullying, because if it's not a bullying behavior, we're going to treat it in a different way. So interventions that can be put in place if it is a bullying behavior, we wouldn't put the kids together for a mediation, because that power imbalance doesn't go away just because there's an adult there and we're calling it mediation. So a peer mediation would be appropriate for a peer conflict, but it wouldn't be appropriate for a bullying behavior situation. So some of the supports we put in place for bullying behaviors is separating students, and we separate the person who's using the bullying behaviors, because it's not fair for a target to have to move classes. Sometimes a parent will decide that's the best for them, but we really want to include the child's voice and the parent voice in making those decisions. We connect the child with somebody at school who they feel comfortable talking to, and we do that for 2 reasons. We want the child to know that they're safe and supported at school, and kids are really smart, and sometimes we can put all the interventions in place and the bullying behavior still continues. So we want that child to have a support at school they can go to and they can talk to. Still want them to talk at home. We still want them to tell parents what's going on, but we want some immediate at school. This is what's happening. This is what's going on. We also can put a very detailed safety plan in place, starting from the beginning of the day to the end of the day, to make sure that there's supports in place, they're not crossing paths. So that's for the target of the bullying behaviors. And then we also do reteaching and discipline for students, because we want them to know this is not appropriate, we do not do this, and here's some reteaching and some things we put in place to make it stop.
Wonderful. So let me ask you this question. So does the interventions look different for elementary and high school?
They do. They look different. We can do a little bit more hand-holding in the elementary school. We really include the student in the high school in making decisions, because they're the one it's happening to. We don't want a high school student to feel like they're being babysat, so we need to make sure they're comfortable with the supports and interventions put in place. So it looks a little different, but similar.
Okay.
Wonderful. Are there any extra tips that you would want to leave parents with today? Because we are in the awareness month. So are there anything that you wanted to leave the parents with for their call to action?
I think the biggest thing is keep talking to your kids. Keep talking to them about what's going on in school. If you have questions, if you feel like someone maybe is being mean to them or bullying them, then try and get clarification. Is this a peer conflict or is this bullying? So we want to use those words correctly. Encourage your kids to use the word peer conflict, or something similar, maybe a little more kid friendly. It's important we don't use the bullying word for everything because we need to know when bullying happen so we can put those serious interventions in place. So keep talking to your kids, keep talking to your school. We are here to support parents. We're here to listen. We're here to be there for your students. So you've got our number. Please call us with questions. If you have concerns, you can call us directly. You can use the bully button. Start with your school, but then if you're not getting those answers and you're still having problems, please contact us.
Thank you. Thank you. I would ask, do we have any questions? Okay, wonderful. Well, then, Ms. Burrs, you did an excellent job at explaining and providing the tools that our parents definitely needed in regards to advocating for their children.
Great, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us this evening for Parent Voices.
Thank you.
Yeah. Wonderful. So now we're going to start to talk about activating your voice, parents. It is your time. This evening, one of the reasons why I am really here to advocate and to encourage, to cheerlead, to support the parents, students, and families of CPS. One of the things that as a parent that I do on a daily basis is I engage with all parties, family, community, church, and other relationships. So what I want to share with you this evening are some helpful tips, and I hope that you will find them helpful in activating your voice. So I want to find out, in Facebook, I know you're watching, so I would love to have some engagement and some conversation around if you are involved in any parent organizations at your local school, if you have completed any of the POSIF surveys, and if you are currently actively using Schoology and PowerSchool. These are all tools in which will help you to activate your voice, but not only that, to advocate for your child. We love your children, the staff and faculty of CPS, but no one knows your child better than you. So this evening, I will continue to share some tools with you in regards to activating your voice within the CPS school district. When I asked you about joining parent organizations, I want to give you some information. I'm not a individual that just likes to give instructions, but I wanted to give you some tools, give you some resources and some steps on how to do that. So one of the ways that you can do that, if you are not already involved in a parent group at your child's school, I invite you to do that. What does a parent group look like for CPS? Well, by the board policy, it consists of 2 or more parents. So don't think just because it's just you and another football mom or football dad that you can't have impact. You can. You can also have impact on our PTA, on our PTO, in our LSDMCs. These are all areas within CPS where parents, our voices are activated. And it's up to us to say something. Again, and I say that because literally we really do have power here in CPS. And if we use it the right way, we can definitely make change. We can definitely create impact. And we can definitely create lifelong learners for our students. Because at the end of the day, our students become a part of our community. And we want productive communities within Cincinnati, Ohio, and across the country, because they just don't stay here. They go abroad. That is our hope and our goal. So I'm going to go to the next step, how you can activate your voice, parent engagement. this is a great one for me because parents, if you're like me, you have your phone literally all the time. It's always on you. And what happens is passive is a pulse check. It's a pulse check for us to get real-time information in regards to what's going on in our parents' circle, in our parents' point of view. What can we celebrate? What can we work on? What can we change? So again, this is another tool for us to use. Now, I'm going to say this, hint, please make sure we have your correct contact information, the most current information. Because if you're not getting pasta on your text messages on your mobile phone, or you're not getting it through email, then we are missing them. Then we're missing you, and you're missing out on your opportunity to share your voice. Now, I'm going to say this as well. Have you had a pulse check lately? So Facebook, if you're on here, if you're listening to me and you've been engaged, please share with me. Share with me because I will definitely be reading this dialogue. I'm definitely going to read the comments and I will follow up. If not myself, the principals, the staff at your various schools, we will definitely connect with you because all of this engagement is about building community. And that's what I see happening within CPS. And again, I know I said it earlier, I am delighted to be your district parent champion, a cheerleader. And I love to support, to promote, to empower, because I call it purposeful work. If you're not changing lives, you're not doing anything really. The next way that we activate our voice, parents, is parent-teacher engagement. Now, I know we attend our parent-teacher conferences, especially at the grade school level. But what happens when your child goes on to high school? We kind of leave some of the communication for them to communicate back and forth with us on on what's going on in the school day. So we're not as hands-on. We kind of loose the string a little bit. So we have this wonderful tool, two wonderful tools, Schoology and Power School. These are great resources. I use these resources daily. I get quick updates in regards to how my kids are doing with their grades, their classes. If there's some communication that I have reached out to one of the teachers, I can do it right there. But not only that, this is another way for me to engage with my child. So from picking one up from the football game, I'll ask about, a grade, or I'll ask about how a test went or things of that nature. It creates engagement. So parent engagement is just not being in a room with other parents, having dialogue in regards to policy changes or, school colors or selection of a principal and things of that nature. Parent engagement is that one-on-one engagement with your child. That makes a big difference as well. And if you are not, and if you have not connected to Schoology and Power School, please see the steps here on the screen on how to do that, because it's very simple. You can definitely download the links if you have an Android or an iPhone. You can download the links, but then you can sign up through our CPS website. And the steps, you can go right to families and students, technology schools, or tools, and then you can click on Power School or Schoology. And what happens there is there's steps for you to sign on. And again, like I said, I'm not one to just tell you what to do. I want to show you how to do it. So even within the website, there is I think a 3-minute PowerPoint, a presentation that walks you through the steps to acquire your logon information so that you can connect with your student and you connect with your students' parents. And if you need help, because all of us do, I am not that tech savvy. So there is definitely a CPS help desk number that you can definitely call, which is 513-343-8255. 363-0390. And someone can help you from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday. Parents, I hope you're engaged. I hope you're listening. Are there any questions or concerns or some feedback? How are we doing this evening? Okay. Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you, Ms. Bowers. I appreciate that. So, okay, we don't have any other questions. Let's see what else we got on here. Let's keep all right, well, me. Let me go back to that slide. Okay, so CPS parents, I want you to know that I am your parent resource. And how you can contact me is at 363-0123. My email is thomar@cpsboe.k12.oh.us. Now, at the end of this presentation that we have tonight, our Parent Voices talk show, there will be a survey that will come out to you as well. And I definitely encourage you, because this platform was designed with parents in mind. We would love your feedback. We would love your suggestions. How can we help serve you and your child and your school community? And here are some more resources. And I won't read these because I believe you all can see these. I hope that you all can see these. But, I never like to leave a forum or a meeting without giving parents resources. If you have questions in regards to academics, athletics, career and technical programs, our community learning center, early childhood education, English language learners, enrollment, customer care center, fine arts, student dining, transportation. Here are the numbers for you to connect with all of those valuable resources. And also stay connected to us on our website, social media, and our mobile apps. We also have a blog, which is I Am CPS. So I want to take a moment again to see if we have any questions from any of our viewing audience. Early childhood number is 363-0240. Wonderful. Thank you, Ms. Fisher, for that. See, we have support everywhere, and that is amazing. So we're going to go to our next slide. So I have one more slide that I want to share with you, and I'm waiting for it to come back up. Every home is a university, and the parents are the teachers. This is by Gandhi. I want to leave you with this in mind. Your students, my children, they come to the school and they mimic what they see at home. And in order for our children, our schools, our community, our nation to be successful, we must be the best teachers first to our students or to our children. So I want to leave you with that. I'll leave you with that quote. And also, lastly, before I end, I want you to find the glitter in your life. Thank you so much this evening for joining Parent Voices. I hope to see you in 2022 on January the 12th. Thank you.